My name is Trin Nguyen, and I'm the Director of the Mayor's Office of Workforce Development and the Office of Financial Empowerment. I welcome you on behalf of the City of Boston here. I welcome the Cities for Financial Empowerment's 13 cities around the country here as well. But before I start the program, I just want to say thank you to the staff and volunteers that make initiatives like this in the city happen and this event. So if you can raise your hands if you're a volunteer and staff, big clap to them. These things are not easy, and these are the people who are on the ground doing the hard work while we have the luxury of being here in front of the mic. So they are the real doers here in the city. Boston is excited to welcome the Cities for Financial Empowerment Coalition, which is convening here this week. And it is my pleasure to introduce the co-chair of the Cities for Financial Empowerment and an important national figure in the field of municipal financial empowerment, Jose Cisneros. As the treasurer of San Francisco, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Boston is #1 now. Take it down a notch. As the treasurer of San Francisco since 2004, he has been committed to ensuring that all San Franciscans, regardless of income, are able to enhance their financial security. He has instructed in San Francisco's launch of Kindergartens to Savings, their CSA program, and has been generous in advising us on our Boston Saves Children's Savings Account pilot. This is somewhat of a homecoming for Jose, who earned his undergraduate degree just across the river at MIT. Jose will speak briefly about CFE, its goals, and bank on financial empowerment in the national context. Jose Cisneros.
Thank you, Trin. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jose Cisneros, San Francisco Treasurer. I am thrilled to be here, and as you mentioned, Trin, I'm thrilled to be back here in San Francisco. I lived here for nearly 20 years. I'm sorry, I'm back here in Boston. Boston is #1, right? When I became treasurer 13 years ago, I had an opportunity to partner with the mayor of our city at that time. And we launched a number of programs in the area of financial empowerment because we wanted to reach out and help the people that needed the help the most. The people that were getting ripped off by predatory check cashers, payday lenders, and far, far worse. And we have thousands of people, thousands of households in all of our cities that happen to every day. We were honored to be able to do that work, and I want to recognize the mayor of Boston for taking that and making that a real emphasis here in Boston ever since the day he was elected. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we started that work more than a dozen years ago now, we formed a coalition of cities all across the country. We come together, we work together, we share best practices, we learn from each other, we copy each other, and we improve on each other's efforts. And that's why I'm so happy that Boston has joined our coalition, our Cities for Financial Empowerment, and today is launching even more programs, Boston Builds Credit and Bank on Boston, that's going to help lead all of us to be able to do more and better work of this kind in the future. Mr. Mayor, Trin, and everybody in the Boston community, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be part of this effort, and because of that, we've brought all 13 present members of our coalition right here to Boston. They're all right here with us today, cities from all across the country that are here to learn from all the great things happening right here in Boston. Congratulations, congratulations, Mr. Mayor, congratulations to Boston. Thank you.
Next, our guest speaker is a very good friend of Boston and our community partners. The United Way of Massachusetts Bay and Merrimack Valley is one of the city's most effective and tireless partners. And we appreciate the leadership of Mike Durkin and his dedicated team on a number of initiatives, including 2 you'll hear about this morning. As president and CEO of this United Way, Mike provides the strategic direction to ensure that Boston area families have the resources and opportunities to lift themselves out of poverty, but not only that, to thrive and succeed. Mike Durkin, our friend.
Well, good morning all, and Treasurer Cisneros, it's great to have you back here. I was going to say that if San Francisco was first, we're closing fast, but Trin has set the pace that we really are first. Hey, and how about a round of applause for Trin, if you would? If this program and all it's about has a godmother, Trin is definitely that person. She has put blood, sweat, and tears into this effort to make it the best it can be for Boston's people. So we're absolutely delighted to be able to be a part of this, and we're humbled at the work that's got to go ahead. You know, the whole 13 city group is coming to look at how we can do best things together to ensure people a solid future. We believe very much that that is based on credit as one of the pillars, sound credit for individuals and families who want to get ahead. That's what Boston Builds Credit is about. The goal's ambitious. We're trying to get 25,000 families to achieve a prime credit score or better in the next 7 or 8 years. So that's big work. It's going to take all of us. There's plenty of room for all to get involved. You know, credit, if you think about it, opens the door for opportunity. One of the things that we know is there's income inequality, but there's also expense inequality. And if you're a family that is not able to achieve a decent credit score, you're going to pay more for simple things and for big things, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's expenses, whether it's fees, establishing the kind of relationships you need. We know people with poor credit can spend as much as $200,000 over a lifetime in excess fees and so forth. So it's an important piece of what we're doing. We're delighted with the work that we've been able to do with the City Community Development Foundation and also our friends from Bank of America, who have been instrumental in trying to lead this charge throughout Boston and really throughout the country, so we appreciate that. What we're trying to do, United Way, is what we try to do every day with great partners, bring together the right people to focus on the opportunities where we can change the outcomes for individuals and families. We believe this is a pillar of our work. There's 4 pieces of this. It's the creating public awareness. This is a great start today. Bringing our nonprofit partners together, working to make sure families have access to the information they need, and then looking at the policy changes that we can begin to implement with others to make a lasting difference in individuals and families' lives. None of this is easy. It's going to take all of us. So if you're interested in how you can pitch in, please talk to one of us afterwards on what you can do. You know, all of this takes great leadership. And 10 years ago, when I came back to Boston, I went to a meeting at College Bound Dorchester, and there were people sitting around the table explaining to me how Boston works, and you know that could take a long time. But one of the people that I met there was Marty Walsh. Marty was a state legislator at the time, and I didn't know that about him until somebody explained it to me afterwards. What he did was explain how the community works, what people needed, what families needed to get to move ahead. It was no surprise to me when Marty was elected our mayor several years ago. He's done great work, no pun intended. He's not doing it for his own credit. He's doing it to advance the cause and the importance of individuals and families throughout this community. Would you join me, please, in welcoming Mayor Marty Walsh?
Thank you. I want to first of all thank Michael and first of the kind introduction, but also the great work that you do in our city and in the region. And if we didn't have Michael as a partner, this work would not be where we are today. So I want to thank you. I want to thank Trin as well. You know, we're so fortunate here in the city to have. Actually, I stole Trin from a different city department, and when she gets involved in issues, there's no worry about it. I mean, she just does it, and she's done so much in this office. I want to thank her. I also want to give Constance a shout out as well, who's done some great work here. So thank you both for your great work. Everyone from Cities for Financial Empowerment and Coalition, thank you for being here today. We want to welcome representatives from all over the country. And as was said earlier, we have representatives from Philly to Miami, Denver to Hawaii, New York to San Francisco. And thank you, Treasurer, for your comments. And just for the press, you heard him wrong. He didn't say Boston's #1. He said San Francisco's #1 because he's running for election next year. So we don't want that to be on. I'll have to go out there and explain it for you. The important thing about all the cities that are here today and cities that couldn't make it is we share a common goal, empowering people in all of our neighborhoods. In Boston, we believe that a great city is one that leaves nobody behind, and that's what we have to continue to work for every single day. So we're looking at everything that we do here through the equity lens, regardless of what it is. We're looking through the equity lens. And our work is about big picture, closing the opportunity gaps from birth to career and beyond. And I was reading a report not too long ago that was talking about people of color. And like every city in America, we're dealing with inequality here in Boston as well. And it said in that report, by the mid part of the century, the wealth of families of communities of color will be zero. And you know, we have to continue to work, and even if we make small incremental gains, those are gains that we have to make. We have to start to swing that pendulum back, or maybe even, I don't know if it's ever been the other way, the pendulum, but we have to start really marking what we're doing and pushing forward. And here in the city, a couple things that we've done, and I'd ask you, a lot of the things that we do, we take ideas from different cities. So some of this you're doing in your cities, and some of it we took from you, and some of the stuff you're not doing, and maybe you can take from us. We're working towards universal pre-kindergarten here in the city of Boston, high-quality pre-kindergarten. That means that we want to have a system that our nonprofits that provide pre-kindergarten today won't lose that opportunity. The United Way funds a lot of those programs. We want to not take everything away from them, but how do we make sure that when a child goes into a Boston public school, or they're getting universal pre-kindergarten at a Boys and Girls Club, that it's the same type of quality of education, something that we're working on here in Boston. We're working with our private sector to provide summer jobs for our young people, and our numbers, I'm not sure exactly what the number was this year, but I know we've been in the 10,000 plus summer job number, where we're providing young people opportunities to work in the summertime. And oftentimes, many of those placements are in the private sector. So they get young people get an opportunity to work for a company, and Bank of America is one of our companies, and gets mentored by someone in that company. And it's something that we're doing every single day. We've achieved the highest graduation rate in Boston's history, 72.6%. We can celebrate that. 27% of our kids are dropping out. What we're doing here today isn't focused on the 72 per se, it's how do we make sure we continue to get those other 27% that are dropping out of school that have no opportunities in life. So we have to continue to work on that. We offered free community college tuition. Trin came up with this idea 2 years ago. We talked about, and we have two schools, start out with two schools, Bunker Hill Community Colleges in Boston, Roxbury Community Colleges in Boston, and then we expanded this year to Mass Bay Community College to give young people that start. And there's some restrictions. You have to get it done in 3 years. You have to have a 3.0 GPA. And now we have other schools like Boston University and Mass Maritime and other in the UMass system saying, well, we want to be able to help those kids when they graduate, so how do we keep moving them along? Those are things that are important. We have career centers for preparing people for 21st century jobs. We've taken money we have a lot of development going on in Boston, as a lot of your cities do. We've taken some of the linkage money and taken $11 million and put into job training, putting that money back into the economy so that we can prepare people for work. I think the number 60% of the people we've trained have gotten jobs, and working on those, because job training simply isn't, we can't just with job training. You have to have something at the end of that. You need a result, and we're doing that here in the city. I want to thank Cities for Financial Empowerment Coalition for recognizing Boston's progress and inviting us to join the great organization in 2015. Trin and her entire team here at City Hall have really valued the support of this great network. We're proud to host you this week, love having you in the city, and we want to continue to work together and share best practices. One of our challenges that holds many families back in our cities is credit. There's no question about it. It's certainly a challenge for many families in Boston. Boston Builds Credit is helping us knock down the barriers, starting in Roxbury and expanding citywide. When you think about home ownership in Boston, last year, 10% of the loans given to people of color came from banks. 60% of our home buying program the loans came from the city. The 10%, there's a lot of barriers for why that 10% is there. One of the biggest is credit. So if we can continue to help people build credit, which will help them build wealth, we'll be able to change that inequality number around. We'll be able to change the wealth of a black family compared to a white family around by having somebody own a property, own a home, be able to do that. We want to continue to push there and do that. Through our free workshops and coaching, this program is going to allow families to understand and take control of their credit. It's going to help us put housing, jobs, and affordable loans within reach of individuals. People don't think that's there today. And they make some bad decisions in their life growing up, and if they never have the opportunity to understand what it is to build credit, you're not going to know. So we have to continue to do that. We have great partners working with us on this project here in Boston, including the United Way, LIST Boston, City Community Development, and Bank of America, who's another outstanding partner in the city of Boston. So many different initiatives. I recognize there's a lot of faces here that I know today who are helping Boston Builds Credit, to make Boston Builds Credit a success. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for your work. This is the kind of project that will really change people's lives, and we couldn't get it done without a lot of you and a lot of your hard work. I'm also proud to announce that Bank On Boston, Bank On is a national movement that promotes affordable, safe financial products from local banks. It works with residents to help them save, grow, and access their money. We're asking you for your help to spread the word. Boston Builds Credits and Bank On Boston. So we want to continue to talk about this out in the communities and the neighborhoods. Both of these new programs will help make it possible for more people to move up and build their lives and the lives that they actually imagined. They will help make our neighborhoods secure and resilient. And I'm incredibly proud of this work because this is, as I think Michael said it, when I ran for office, it was to help people. When most people run for office, it's to help communities and build community. The way you do it is not individually, you do it collectively. And as I look around here, the amount of brain power that's in this mezzanine today, that's actually helping people all across America is absolutely incredible. So I want to thank you for it. Together, we're all going to continue to close the opportunity gap. We're going to build long-time wellness in communities and families, and we're going to make sure that everyone's able to share in a prosperous and great city, whatever that city is, whether that city is Boston, whether that city is San Francisco, whether that city is New York or Miami, wherever in the country. That's what we have to do. That's our job. So again, thank you for being with us today, and I think I turn the floor back over to Trin.
Thank you so much, Mayor Walsh. Because of his leadership, the Boston Builds Credit has a vision and goal of serving 25,000 residents by 2025 to increase their credit to 660 by that year, which is 8 years. So it's a very ambitious goal, but as he talked about, we have to be bold to help swing the pendulum. It's the only way in which we can get to the systemic infrastructure to change the lives and improve of Boston residents. So thank you so much. We could not have launched these new projects without financial support, and I particularly want to thank partners who are here today. City Community Development has worked with us on financial empowerment programming since early in this administration. I am especially appreciative of Debbie Taylor, who's City's Director of U.S. Markets, flew from Texas to be with us today. Debbie's territory includes community development in Massachusetts and management of the Community Reinvestment Act work here. City support of credit building has helped us get this project off the ground, and I will ask Debbie to share City's vision of this work. Debbie Taylor.
Good morning, and it's really a pleasure to be with you all today. I use any excuse I can to get to Boston. I love this city. So City Community Development is City's arm that is committed to expanding financial inclusion and economic empowerment to all those vulnerable and underserved communities around the country. By collaborating with local governments and with strong nonprofit organizations like the ones represented here in the room today, we are able to use City's expertise, their products, and their services with the goal of really working towards financial inclusion and resiliency so that all people can contribute to their local economies. And we recognize that access to safe, affordable credit is an essential component to building inclusive cities. We know that, according to the CFPB, that 26 million people, 11% of all adults in the U.S., are credit invisible, meaning that they don't have a credit record file at any one of the 3 major companies. And as was said earlier, when borrowers lack a credit record, lenders have a hard time assessing their credit worthiness, and applicants then find a hard time even finding any credit at all, and when they do, is it safe or affordable? Here in Boston, nearly 100,000 people have no credit scores, and an estimated 136,000 people have subprime credit scores, which causes them to pay higher fees and interest on things like homes, autos, even financing their kids' college education. So these complex and challenging financial problems really require more than one organization can make progress on alone. And that's why we are really proud today to work and partner with the City of Boston and the leading community organizations to test ideas and to take them to scale, investing in innovative programs and transforming them into permanent solutions that benefit low and moderate income residents. Boston Builds Credit is an extraordinary example of an innovative partnership that is also very collaborative. This first of its kind program will enable participants to build and sustain strong credit scores that in turn boost long-term financial resiliency. It is a transformative strategy of credit building that is deliberate, responsive, and scalable by design. We are hopeful that what is done here can also be replicated in markets across the country. Citi was alongside Boston Builds Credit from the beginning, collaborating on the initial feasibility study, the business planning process, and providing early-stage investments to support the startup of this project. We are also pleased to have worked closely with the City of Boston on its Youth Credit Building Initiative, which yielded positive results and demonstrates that by providing access to the right product at the right time with the right skills and knowledge and awareness, that youth can begin to build credit, healthy credit, from the very get-go. We really value the work of the three lead sponsors, United Way, LISC Boston, and dozens of community partners that are involved and will be involved in this strategy to promote economic resilience and equity in Boston. And we are really proud to be working together with all of you and with Mayor Walsh to build more resilient and more financially inclusive Boston. And we really look forward to continuing this work in the future. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Before we continue the program, I also want to recognize City Council Michael Flaherty right in the back for his support, so thank you. Bank of America has also been a supporter of our financial empowerment work and has a strong retail as well as philanthropic presence throughout the city. Thank you to Alicia Verity, who's right here, if you can wave, who's here today. I'd like to introduce Angelica Zavales, who is the Financial Center Manager for Bank of America's Roxbury branch, where the Boston Builds Credit Pilot will take place. And that is the hub of where the innovation will take place for our credit building initiative. Angela is on the ground in Dudley Square, so she has valuable perspective on Roxbury residents' financial needs. Angela?
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor Walsh and other distinguished guests. It's an honor to be with you today. Bank of America is proud to play a part in Boston Builds Credit as part of our longstanding commitment to financial education, access, and stability. The extreme challenge of income inequality demands that we work together toward a solution, and we must collaborate across the private, public, and nonprofit sectors on innovative programs such as this. As the manager of Bank of America Dudley Square branch in the heart of beautiful Roxbury, and as a Boston resident myself, I have firsthand knowledge of the needs of residents in this community. Every day, my team has the privilege of working with hundreds of people living and conducting business in our neighborhood. Some of whom already have good credit, but many of whom are struggling to develop better money habits, build their assets, and in need of guidance on how to manage credit effectively. In closing, on behalf of my 5,000 Massachusetts colleagues, I'd like to thank the United Way, the Office of Financial Empowerment, LISC, and all the supporters here today who have answered the call to make financial lives better for all Bostonians. I look forward to seeing many of you at the Roxbury Center of Financial Empowerment, our neighbor, as we work together, towards, economic inclusion and equity in Boston for all. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
That's the key essence and a winning formula for the City of Boston and for Mayor Walsh is that every time when we design a program, it's not just pretty wrap around. What we need to do is hire, retain, and invest in the workforce and development of the City of Boston. And so a lot of the workers in our Roxbury Center for Empowerment and our OFE work has been reflective of the diversity in which we serve. And so that is a number one priority in which it is key to a winning strategy for Boston and our credit building initiative. Last but not least, I am happy to introduce a valued longtime partner, Bob Van Meter. Bob is the Executive Director of LISC Boston and is a leader of community development in Boston with a commitment to affordable housing, as well as economic development and financial empowerment. He and LISC are lead partners on the Boston Builds Credit. Bob Van Meter.
Thank you, Trin, and thank you to Mayor Walsh for leading this initiative. The Local Initiative Support Corporation is a national community development organization that's been deeply involved in financial empowerment across the country for over 10 years, supporting 80 financial opportunity centers around the country. We're delighted to build on the partnership that we've had with both the City of Boston and the United Way of Mass Bay to join in Boston Builds Credit. LISC Boston is a longtime supporter of the City of Boston's work on financial empowerment and has supported the Roxbury Center for Financial Empowerment's free coaching and workforce development programs, financial coaching and workforce development programs. This administration has been working with us to make sure that financial empowerment tools are available to communities of color and to address the racial wealth gap here in Boston. One of the strongest elements of this initiative is that it supports the role of community-based organizations in building credit. We believe that is critical to the long-term success of the initiative. Public education is important, but we also need boots on the ground. We need people who are going to be working with their neighbors on this. And this initiative includes that element, which I think is critical. LISC specifically is going to be working with small businesses on credit. We've been working with entrepreneurs in Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan for almost 5 years, and we know from that work that improving the credit scores of entrepreneurs is critical to their accessing capital and building their businesses. We've been involved in the planning for Boston Builds Credit over the last 2 years and are excited to finally see it launch. I want to acknowledge the work that my colleague Carlene Porcina did working alongside Trin and Constance Martin, and especially want to acknowledge Gail Sokoloff of the United Way, without which this initiative would not have happened. We look forward to expanding this work beyond Roxbury to Dorchester and Mattapan in the future years and working with all of you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Before I want to just close and thank everyone for attending, I want to recognize Tarisha Jones, who's the treasurer of St. Louis. Do you want to stand up and say hi to Boston? We've also learned a lot of best practices in credit building and savings products from St. Louis Treasury's Department as well. So thank you so much for all your support and help. And this closes the program, and we are doing this on time and early. So grab a cup of coffee, enjoy your colleagues, and welcome our CFE partners. Thank you so much for coming.